So I've been, asked to talk about our family business, W.T. Johnson. So really this is a talk for those of you who are passionate about manufacturing and passionate about wool textile manufacturing in particular, and also those that are interested in how a business can continue to provide value for its customers after 110 years when many of its contemporaries and competitors are no longer around. So W.T. Johnson are a dyeing and finishing company. So a couple of definitions to help you along with that. When I talk about fabric, I'm talking about woven fabric, usually wool, but also other natural fibres such as silk, linen, cashmere, alpaca, and so on. And when I talk about finishing, I'm talking about the bit between weaving and garment making, or whatever else the end use is. Now that definition is a little bit dry, because what I really want to talk to you about is the art of finishing. And my English lecturer would be very, very pleased for me to be talking about the art of finishing, because when I left university and said I was going to go work for the family business, he said, "Paul, please don't be a soulless industrialist." So the fact that I'm able to talk about the art of finishing, he'd be very pleased about. And we're commissioned processors, so none of the fabric that goes through our building belongs to us. We do our little bit and we send it back. And the people who send it to us are design and fabric manufacturing companies who are selling fabric. That fabric indirectly goes to luxury markets all over Europe and all over the world, which is one very good economic reason why I'll be voting to stay in on Thursday. It goes to, we're part of the Made in England branded fabric supply chain, and luxury tailors supply our fabrics to their clients to make bespoke suits and made-to-measure suits. We also will find that nearly every top-class high-end designer will have some UK fabric in its collection. So we've had fabric pass through our mill for Tom Ford, Gucci, Hermes, Burberry, Ralph Lauren, everybody that you can think of, and many, many more. Some of those fabrics will have had fairly clever performance finishes, and we also deal with accessories, scarves, shawls, throws, and more recently, interior fabrics and contract furnishing fabrics. I'd just like to tell you a story about product development. My brother and I were talking with a design team in one of our customers a few years ago, and they've got a big presence in the Far East. And they were telling us how in Japan, jade is really quite a precious stone. It's quite revered for some of its special powers. And we decided that here was an opportunity to create a unique product. So some merino wool was sourced in New Zealand, brought over to Huddersfield where it was spun and woven, and it arrived on our door. At that time, it was just fine worsted. But we got some jade, and we crushed it down into a really fine powder. Then we put that powder into a suspension. We applied the suspension to fabric and dried it out, and from there did our finishing process, and we made it into a luxury garment. And it felt like a luxury garment, despite the fact that laboratory analysis showed that there were particles of jade remaining deep down in the fibre. And as a result, we were able to create a completely unique product, and it was a fantastic marketing success. And I think it demonstrates two things that the family decided quite some time ago. One was that our business driver would be innovation. We would try and do things that other people couldn't do. And our innovations would be collaborative, and they'd be market-led. And the second was that in any market we went into, we'd try and be in high-value products. We'd seen in the UK many companies providing volume products that nobody wanted. So, where did it all begin? Well, in that building in the top left, Bankfield Mills in Huddersfield. Site's a little bit bigger than that now, but it's still there and we're still in it. And I and brother are fourth generation owner managers, so for the genealogists amongst you, you'll know that that was started by great-grandfather, and that's him, top left. I've spared my blushes and you laughing a bit by just putting generations 1 and 2 up there. So I thought that was quite sensible. Don't want any pictures of brother and I. We've got 3 textile businesses. W.T. Johnson's our finishers. We have a company in Honley called DP Dyers, and they are piece dyers. You can dye wool textiles in the top, in the yarn, in pieces, or even in garments. But we are piece dyers. And we have a small business in Bradford called Relga who mend fabric, they inspect it, and they get it ready for dispatch. And I think, as Nikki was saying, one of the things that we're able to do is take a long-term view. We're not dictated to by the requirements of lots and lots of shareholders who have a short-term horizon. We can take the long-term view. When times are good, we can invest in our future. And when times are leaner, we can tighten our belts and work through it and see it out. I think the other thing is we've found over the years that it's really helpful to be very, very clear about what it is that we do. And we communicate that to all our stakeholders, customers, our own people, and the like. And we do that with our mission, which is to add value to our customers' fabric and to make it special. We think that that stands up. Our people understand that that is what they are doing at our company, and our customers will be delighted to know that everybody's trying to make their fabric as good as it can be. And our vision is to be recognised and rewarded as the world leader in wool fabric finishing. Now, that's obviously aspirational, but it's something that our people can get behind and feel excited about, that a small company in Huddersfield can do its best to be the best in the world. I think the other thing that it does for us is when you've been around a long time, you've got to guard against complacency, because there can be a prevailing attitude that we've been successful doing it this way, therefore we'll just do more of the same. Whereas actually, we're embracing continuous improvement, so we say, no, in order to be as good as we can be, we need to be better every single day, and we can measure our actions against that. And we have values that we've generated over the generations about the sorts of people that we want at W.T. Johnson's and what we want them to display. And interestingly, our performance reviews are actually values-based. We believe that if people demonstrate those values at work, then good performance will come as a natural consequence. So, what makes fabric special? Well, we think we've got 3 competitive advantages. Being in Huddersfield is one of them. Huddersfield is the only town in the world that adds value to fabric by putting its name on the edge. Only town in the world. And the other 2 are plant and people. So there is our train station at Huddersfield, and we are in the green and pleasant land, of course. And although we moan and moan and moan about the climate and how poor it is here, in actual fact, for finishing, it's very good. Because for finishing fabric, you need a cool, temperate climate. It's actually very difficult to finish fabric when it's really hot and it's really dry. So bring on the rain and the temperate climate, we love it. The other thing is that we've got pure, clean, consistently soft water. Now, many, many years ago, the water was for power, and after that, it was for transport. But actually, for us, it's very much about one of our most important processes, which is washing. And having a pure, clean, consistent water in the area is very, very useful. And the third thing is that we are a textile cluster. We weren't called a textile cluster when we became a textile cluster because nobody knew what a textile cluster was. This is all modern speak. But effectively, by being very strong in textiles in this area, all the surrounding support services grew up with us, such as engineering, textile education, and all the things that you need to develop as an industry. We have them here. The second thing is our investment in machines. This is very much Father's area. He's passionate about this sort of thing. And we have a very strong in-house engineering team. We've got the most modern plant and machinery, but we've also got some traditional stuff, and we tend to buy machines for its capability, not necessarily for its cost saving. So our in-house engineering team do 3 things. First, they maintain machines, keep them running. You'd probably expect that. Secondly, when we install machines, we will often change them and make modifications to them so that they're more fit for purpose and, in our view, more relevant than when we actually bought them. And the third thing that we'll do, and have done on a couple of occasions, is we'll design our own if we see that there's a gap in the market. That's what we'll do. So we're pretty sure that we have a plant that is unique worldwide. As I say, a combination of old and new machines, but I'll give you just a few photos so that you can see that we're talking about quite substantial pieces of equipment here. We're not talking about sewing machines and stuff like that. You know, we're talking about a fully invested business, and if you're in finishing, this is the sort of stuff that you need to get hold of. An Ecofast, for example, there's only 2 in the world. We've got both of them. They probably cost you over £1 million each if you want to buy one now. Brother and I have a little bit of a debate about Ecofast because we reckon Father probably spent a bit more time with the machines than he did with us when we were growing up, because they are quite difficult to run. So there we go. And of course, the first thing is the people that we've got. The third advantage is the people we've got, absolutely crucial. You need to have people with the skill who can operate those machines, who can set them up, and who can combine them in order to create the effects that you want. And I think what we'd say as well is that we're dealing with a natural product. We'd love it to be engineering. We'd really love it to be engineering, but it's not. It's not straightforward, and stuff doesn't always behave in the same way. So once you acknowledge that, you realise that everybody who's working with wool and working with a fabric has to be a decision maker, because it can behave in a way that it didn't last time. So you can't just start finishing fabric straight away. And we've got a lot of experience at the heart of our company. We've got 30% of our people have been with us more than 35 years. And that skill and knowledge is absolutely paramount. It's the advances in those things that give us the situation that we are today. Our heritage gives us a wonderful platform on which to build our skills of plant and machinery, because effectively we've had a 110-year continuous development plan building on our knowledge base year in and year out. And those advances over the years in our skills and in our plant effectively underpin the evolution of finishing in our history. So when we began, we were responsible for a couple of things only. One is we needed to make sure that the cloth was fit for purpose for tailoring. So it didn't skew, it didn't shrink or move around, that the tailors could do what they needed to do. And the second thing was that all the impurities that had been put in by previous manufacturers were removed. 2 things as simple as that. Today, as things have advanced, we're still responsible for quite a few performance issues. We can help pilling, cockling, residual shrinkage, strength, seam slippage. We can have finishes that give water resistance, antimicrobial, machine washable. But, however, performance is not the only thing that we're doing. We are helping a fabric maximise and achieve its full potential. In luxury markets, discerning consumers, discerning customers need to make an emotional connection with a product. Because of our advances, we can affect, drape, handle, touch, feel. These are things that call to the senses, and this is true modern added value. A little while ago, I was with a customer and we were sat in front of the chief of the Abu Dhabi police. Now, there's nothing to worry about. We were all on side. We were there doing the selling, and they were passing various bits of fabric in front of him because he was looking for some fabric for his top officers. And it was only really when he got his hands onto the fabric that the whole mood of the room changed and the smile came on his face, and he knew that he'd got some real luxury in his hands. And the other thing that finishing can do, the other really important thing, is it facilitates the link between the fabric supply chain and the customer. All the hard work of growers, spinners, weavers, designers can be wasted if the potential of the fabric is not maximised. So finishing has that really important job to play to deliver the full value of the supply chain to the consumer in full, and that's an advantage worth having. The suit I'm wearing is from Escorial wool. That's a pretty rare wool, Escorial, and it originated from the Spanish royal flocks of El Escorial. It's now found in really quite small numbers in Australia and New Zealand. The essential difference with the Escorial is in the heart of the fibre, where it's a naturally coiled spring. And although it gives great luxury, it also gives quite a bit of resilience. And air gets trapped in that fibre, and it has good thermal properties, and it's quite light, but it feels as though it's quite bulky. So it's a wonderful combination. If we don't do our bit right as finishers, none of those special qualities are delivered into the garment, and the whole effort of the Escorial people goes to waste. And maybe I don't get to look as smart as I think I do. So we think that we've seen in our journey the UK textile industry changed. It's a little bit more niche, it's a bit more high value, and we are building on the past, not living in it. W.T. Johnson's are only one of a number of UK industry people who have got a success story to tell. We're growing quicker than we've ever grown in our history before. We're finishing around 120,000 metres of luxury fabric a week. We are profitable, and we're investing a substantial amount of that profit back in the business. We're beginning to get customers overseas sending us cloth for finishing only, and we're also beginning to get people interested in putting our label about finishing and who's finished it and what sort of finish it's got on it into finished garments, which is something that we wouldn't have dreamed of 10 years ago. 110 years being finishers certainly does not mean that we see that as the finish. We think the UK industry is in a great place, and it's only just getting started. Thank you. Thank you very much.